Hi, welcome to Gattsy on Goosebumps, the show in which I review every single Goosebumps book from R.L. Stine's original series. And today we're going in deep. Deep trouble, that is, Goosebumps number 19. We've got some very nice cover art from Tim Jacobus there, except it would lead you to believe the story is mostly about a boy being eaten by a shark, which is not the plot of the story whatsoever. Don't go in the water. Billy and his sister Sheena are visiting their uncle, Dr. Deep, on a tiny Caribbean island. It's the perfect place to go exploring underwater, and Billy's ready for an adventure. There's only one rule to remember: stay away from the coral reefs. Still, the reefs are so beautiful, so peaceful. Billy can't resist, but he's not alone in the water. Something's lurking deep below the surface, something dark and scaly. Saying it's half human, half fish. I didn't actually read that blurb before I reread this book. It makes it sound a lot more exciting than it actually is. So our protagonist is Billy Deep, who's staying on a cruise ship off the Caribbean island with his sister Sheena and their uncle, the famous marine biologist, Dr. Deep. Just as a minor point here, if the setting of the story is mostly underwater, that's enough to justify the title Deep Trouble. That's a double entendre, because it's deep in the sense that there's a lot of trouble, and it's deep because it's literally deep underwater. You don't have to furthermore name your protagonist Deep. That's a triple entendre, and frankly too much entendre for me to handle. But I digress. One day, Dr. Deep is approached by two people from a zoo of sorts, and they want the famous doctor to investigate reports of a mermaid in the area. They've heard that there's a mermaid somewhere near where they are, and if anyone can find that, it's Dr. Deep with the help of his assistant Alexander. So Billy gets very excited. He's always got an active imagination. He's ready to find this mermaid, and he does, accidentally. He's about to be eaten by a shark while he's swimming, and a mermaid comes to the rescue. A girl mermaid. A girl mermaid. So the mermaid is taken aboard the ship, and Billy quickly strikes up a friendship with her, despite their obvious differences and inability to communicate. And he sort of gets quite remorseful that they're going to donate this mermaid to a zoo when it's clearly an intelligent being. It sort of tackles the issue of, you know, when is it alright for science to intervene in mermaids? Then one night, four men come onto the ship and steal the mermaid. How do they know where it was? It turns out Alexander, the lab assistant, sold them out. And the three members of the Deep family are locked in a fish tank and thrown overboard, where they are saved from drowning by the mermaids. Freed from the aquatic tomb, they follow the mermaids to the assailants' ship in their little dinghy, where they're promptly spotted again, and their dinghy is about to be set on fire. Burning to death in the ocean is a pretty good example of irony. When the other mermaids rock the assailants' boat over, and it frees the mermaid that was tethered there, and the mermaids are free, and the Deep family are free, and hopefully all the bad men drown. It's not confirmed, but bloody hell, wouldn't that be ironic? Not really, drowning at sea. That's the opposite of ironic. So Dr. Deep has another meeting with the people from the zoo, and he says, no, couldn't find a mermaid, there's no such thing. So he has a conscience, and he turns down the $1 million that it's revealed earlier in the book he really needed to continue his research. But what good is money if you sell your soul and betray your mermaid friends? Story ends with Billy seeing a sea monster that he spotted earlier in the book that no one believed. I didn't mention it because it has no bearing in the plot, and it seems to have just been in the earlier chapter to set up this cliffhanger. So immediately there are obvious comparisons with an earlier book in the series, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. In both stories we have a boy who is staying with his uncle, who is an expert in his respective field. In both cases, it's not the actual supernatural element that seeks to harm the characters, but the uncle's lab assistant. The difference is the Egyptian setting of Curse of the Mummy's Tomb inside a mummy's tomb is naturally quite interesting, quite spooky. While it's interesting having a book set, you know, a lot of it underwater and at sea, it's not exactly the same as being inside a pyramid. Furthermore, reading the blurb, you get the impression that the mermaid is going to be some sort of monster, some sort of killing machine. Something that's going to like stalk them and you know, follow the boat and eat one of them, maybe. I think a scary mermaid would have been more exciting than just a greedy lab assistant who wants money. Overall, the supernatural elements, I think, are underexplored in this, and while we do see the other mermaids, we don't get a lot of insight into what they really are. The scariest part is when they're about to drown in a fish tank, and that, of course, can happen to any of us. So I can't fault the story in of itself. It wraps up very nicely, and it's very interesting to read, but for a Goosebumps book, you expect something a bit scarier. You're not going to find it in deep trouble. That's all for this week. Please join me next time, in which I have a collaborative review of Goosebumps number 20, The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and please stay spooky.